All right, today we're going to tackle what is without a doubt one of the most famous verses in all of Christianity, John 3:16. But we're not just going to read it. We're going to break it down using a really specific framework that looks at it as four incredible superlatives.
And there it is. Even if you're not particularly religious, I bet you've seen this verse. Maybe on a sign at a football game or quoted in a movie. It's just everywhere. It's one single sentence that packs a huge punch, and the source material we're looking at today builds this entire theological structure right on top of it.
So, how can one little verse possibly contain something that massive? Well, according to the author we're sourcing, it's because it combines four totally distinct ideas, and each one is described as the greatest ever in its own right. Okay, let's dive into this and see how it works. First up, the whole framework kicks off not with the action, but with the actor. The source says that to really get the significance of this verse, you have to start by establishing who is doing the loving: God. This is framed as the first and really the most foundational, greatest ever. And look, the logic here is pretty straightforward. The idea is that the impact of any act is just magnified by the importance of the person doing it. So the source basically sets up this hierarchy with God at the very, very top. That means any action coming from this position is, by definition, uniquely powerful. It's all about setting the stage, establishing just how big this is. And this quote right here, it just nails the whole point. It takes this huge, abstract theological idea and makes it intensely personal. See, the source isn't just making a statement about God. It's arguing that this very fact makes the love itself more significant for you, the individual. All right, so we've got the greatest person. The next logical step? Well, it's the greatest action, the love itself. The source doesn't just say this love is great, it makes the case that it's the greatest love ever shown, period. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The source tries to make this idea tangible. It says, okay, think about the most powerful forms of love we humans can even understand. A mother's fierce love, a father's steady love, the passionate love between partners, even that deep patriotic love for your country. It takes all of those and then says God's love is just quantifiably greater. It uses our own best examples as a measuring stick to show that this love is completely off the charts. So we've got the greatest person showing the greatest love. But who's it for? This brings us to our third superlative, the recipient. And the verse couldn't be clearer. It's for the world. And to really drive this point home, the author once again draws this sharp contrast with our own human experience. Our ability to love, it's often limited, right? We love our family, our close friends, our community. It's a focused and, let's be honest, often exclusive kind of affection. And the source gets super specific with these examples, right? It talks about love for a spouse, for your tribe, for your country. It even points out how this limitation can sometimes sour into contempt for people who are outside of that circle. This is basically framed as, well, how we humans operate by default. It's the baseline we're about to compare against. And here's the huge pivot. The power of this statement, at least in the author's view, is in just how radically inclusive it is. This isn't love for one special group or one nation or one kind of person. The scope is total, the whole wide world. It's that universal scale that makes it the greatest number. Okay, that brings us to the fourth and final piece of this puzzle. It's built on that phrase that he gave his only begotten son, a term that signifies a totally unique, one-of-a-kind relationship. This act of giving is framed as the ultimate proof of the love we've just been talking about. So let's put it all together. The greatest person, showing the greatest love to the greatest number of people, proves it by giving what is presented as the greatest gift possible. This single act completes the whole four-part structure the author uses to define what they call the greatest salvation.
So what's the ultimate effect of stacking these four greatest evers, one on top of the other? Well, it creates this incredibly powerful, self-reinforcing argument, where each piece just makes the others even bigger. Let's just lay it all out one more time.
So here it is. This is the crucial four-step breakdown. It's like a rhetorical crescendo, It just keeps building. The source argues that when you combine the supreme authority of the giver, the unmatched quality of the emotion, the universal scope of who it's for, and the ultimate value of the gift, you end up with a concept of salvation that is, by this definition, completely unparalleled. Each greatest just amplifies all the others.
And all of that leaves us with a final thought.
This way of analyzing something is incredibly effective, isn't it? It takes a sentence we've all heard and transforms it into this structured, memorable, and really persuasive argument. So the question to think about is this: how does framing a belief through a cascade of greatest evers actually change its emotional and logical impact on people? It's a fascinating look at just how powerful language can be.